Hi, Hearties. This is Marg Stark, and this is Heart to Heart. I am an admin for the Facebook page, and I'm joined tonight by...
I'm Jeanette Stevens, and I'm an admin from East Lansing, Michigan. Hi, Hearties.
And I'm Jen Young, an admin from Seattle, Washington.
And it's our distinct privilege to be joined tonight in Heart to Heart with Derek Thompson. Yay! Hi, Derek.
Hello. Hi, Hearties. Thanks for having me.
Derek, I don't even want to begin to get into your bio. And John Tinker says that when I talk about you having written 23 episodes, that doesn't even really begin to touch your impact on this show. You've been there since season 2, right?
Yeah.
Okay, season 2.
Yeah.
That's a lot of time and a lot of episodes. And then you're a co-executive producer.
Right.
Over 80 episodes.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
We're going to get into that a little bit.
Yeah.
We're figuring out what that's going to mean. So just because we're right on the heels of having seen episode 3 last night, which was a very, which you wrote, and it was directed by Siobhan. Am I saying her name correctly? Siobhan Devine?
Yes, I believe that's right.
Okay. All right. So what an episode. It was, it obviously held up a mirror to some things that went on in the Hearties community last year. And there was a lot of humor. Certainly the storylines are moving along quickly with Wyman Walden coming in at the end. So maybe just give us a little bit about what might have been satisfying or meaningful or fun about this particular episode.
I mean, first I want to say I was so happy with the way it turned out. It was a really fun episode and everyone really knocked it out of the park. So, I mean, we couldn't be happier. The book that she wrote, the novel, was something that has followed us through a few seasons. So it was nice to finally get to the point where it was released. And it was fun to when we came up with the idea of having people in town see themselves in these characters. That was we all just jumped at that idea. It would be fun. And but I'll admit, when I got into it, it was kind of daunting because we have such a big cast. So you're like, who do you do that with? But the idea was to keep it fun. And that was the light side of the episode. The hard side of the episode, which yes, writers can relate to, is taking some critique. And I thought she handled it very well in the episode. And building to that letter from the widow, that was one of those scenes that really got me when I was even writing it. And then Pascal and Aaron just nailed it. So it was a fun episode. And I think it felt fresh. It just felt like they did different things. Like I have to give the director a lot of credit. It felt like he saw different parts of the town, and we have such great directors that they always bring something different to the table. So yeah, very happy with it. Lots of fun.
Was Don't Callous Your Heart, was that your writing? It's so beautiful.
It's that might have been a John Tinker line. I'm trying
All right, well, what about
I like
flouted?
to give him lots of credit. Yeah.
Okay, well, flouted is an awfully good word as well.
Yeah. There you go.
He couldn't recall whose word that was, but it was hysterical.
Yeah. So speaking of of conflicting opinions about episodes, season 2, we get lots of Hearties opinions about season 2. But one of your episodes that you're known for is the Homestead episode.
Right.
All my Heartie friends, when we start talking about season 2, that episode comes up. So to remind Hearties, that's where, I don't know if we need to remind Hearties, but where Elizabeth took care of the kids out on the homestead. And of course, Jack helps with that. Can you share a little bit about writing that episode? And did you kind of expect that level of reaction from the Hearties for that one?
I mean, I did. I was so happy that they all loved it. I think that was my first episode that I wrote on the show. And, season 2 was a tricky season. There was so much time away from Hope Valley. I think part of the reason fans liked that episode was because it really brought her home, and there was romance, not overt romance, but just a glimpse of what they could be as parents, as a married couple. And then, you know, the fun of just Elizabeth being a fish out of water and finding her way. You know, there was some of that fun in season 1 too, and I think maybe that kind of reminded people what it was like when she first arrived at Hope Valley and she burnt the house down and everything. That was fun. And you know what really sticks in my mind is that we wrote many drafts of that episode, so many drafts, and it's all the things that didn't get into the episode, all the things that the funny things that she did falling on her face at the homestead. I mean, one was giving birth to a cow, and I think it was giving birth to a dog, and they just said, no, she can't do that, she can't do that. So we just ended up kind of having her muck the stalls and have trouble with the pump and stuff. But yeah, lots of fun, and to see them together, that was kind of a special moment. I'm glad people liked it.
That's so great. There must be some great outtakes from that episode then, if that's the case.
I think there are. Even the stuff that we ended up actually shooting, I think there's so many funny things in the mucking the stalls. And yeah.
Well, I definitely think that's one where Hearties said, who's this Derek guy, and where can we follow him and get more info about him? So that's good. You also, jumping ahead a little bit to a later episode that you wrote the heart-wrenching finale of season 5.
Right.
We had a lot of Hearties ask about this one. So can you tell us about that? Was it a difficult process, or you kind of had some
I mean,
time to prepare? So
it was really hard, and I'll say it was such a sensitive episode to write, because we knew it would affect the fans and everything. All the writers really jumped in, and we all were very meticulous about what we did on that episode. But you know, Dan, who plays Jack, I mean, he was a big part of the show, and also, you know, we all considered him a friend, and it was sad for a lot of different reasons, but there was some really powerful moments in that episode, some of my favorite. Definitely, as you know, I was writing, you'd become emotional, just not only because a character's leaving, just to try to put yourself in someone's shoes going through that. So very special. So glad that I got to be a part of it, and glad people,
beautiful,
affected people. Yeah.
Thank you.
So we asked the Hearties on Facebook to come up with some questions for you. And Heather Hood from Minnesota wanted to know kind of just about the whole writing process, from the beginning of just sketching out the storylines to the actual writing. How much of that is collaborative and how much of that is just individual?
I mean, it always depends on the writer's room and who's in there and how it's organized. But on this show, usually the way it works is we arrive at the writer's room, and we have a head writer, showrunner, John Tinker. And the showrunner will come with a general sense of what might, broadly speaking, what might happen in the season. And then we all get together and basically just talk it through and figure out, like, how can we create, we call it a season arc. What would be the big stories that would carry us through, and what are maybe some smaller stories we can pepper in there. And then, you know, writers are assigned to an individual episode. And it might go something like, you know, you write just a paragraph of saying, this is what the episode is. That goes to the network, you get some notes. Then you do an outline, which is a detailed summary of each scene, and that might go to network and you get some notes. And then you write a draft or 2 or 3 of the actual script, which has dialogue and how people move and where they are and what they're doing. And yeah, you pretty much, that's the process. And then, you know, it doesn't really stop at writing. It keeps on going through editing. Editing is such a big part of the show. And then so the network will get involved and give their notes about how we can cut around things. The editors are so brilliant in what they can do. Like, sometimes the right look or moment or reaction isn't there, but they will find it. They can create it somehow. Even sometimes they'll steal stuff from another scene, and just it's brilliant. So it's a long process. It takes months to happen, but very collaborative, to answer your question.
Wow. That's a lot more than I thought that went into all of that. So that was really cool. We've got one other person, Debbie Welch from North Texas asked, so when you're writing for the episodes that you've written, did you take any inspiration from your own personal life and kind of tweak it for When Calls the Heart? Or are you just coming up with
All the time. Like
all the time?
all the time. I'll tell you a quick story about how I was hired on the show. When I interviewed in season 2 with the new showrunners, one of the showrunners said, I hear that you used to be in forestry. And I said, yes, I was. In a previous life, I worked in the forest industry. And he said, well, that's good, because we're thinking about bringing a sawmill to town. This guy, Lee, his name wasn't Coulter at the time. It was like Lee Coburn or something. He's a flashy guy. He's going to bring a sawmill to town. So we need someone that understands sawmills. And I said, oh boy, I'm your man. And so that became my sort of thing on the show. Anytime they had to talk about the sawmill, I would kind of write up some lingo. But yeah, that, and more recently, even in last night's episode, like the thing with the window being backwards, like that's something my grandpa and his brother accidentally did when they were building a house, and then Joseph using that work to spend time with Cooper is something my dad did with me. That was a big thing, and he would make sure it took a long time so he could spend more time with me. And the ins and outs of writing her novel, I think we pulled a lot of stuff. And then I think a big one, when I have a sister who's adopted, who I love very much, and so when Nathan was adopting Allie, that was something that was really special to me, as well as the stories that kind of filtered over into the spin-off series about the orphans and stuff. So yeah, all the time, just kind of pulling stuff. I think all writers do it. They just pull stuff out of their life and put it on display.
I love that. I'm adopted, so those storylines always really speak to me too. And I forgot to mention that you've also done some writing for When Hope Calls, now on GAC. So that's very cool. We're excited for that to come. Will you be writing for them in the future?
I don't know. I only worked on the first season. I wasn't.
I gotcha.
Okay. The other stuff, but
very cool and great. The sawmill stuff. I can't tell you how many Hearties today and last week were like, what's happening with the sawmill? Like they want that sawmill to hang in there. So you got to drop in some forestry with the managing editor. They want him to keep both things going.
That's right. We need to, it does pop back, and yes, moving forward, season 10.
Yes, right. That would be beautiful. So Coulter Enterprises is small, and then in writ large right now is the Valley Voice, but
there you go.
Maybe in season 10.
His heart is still
with the sawmill.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. I think Hearties, you're kind of known among the Hearties as being, somebody who writes romance particularly well. And 9 seasons in, it's got to kind of be tough to keep that romance alive. We have seen a lot of candles over our time. So what's the next romantic move, and where are you drawing this inspiration for this?
We have an inside joke, but when we write those scenes with candles, we indicate how many fire extinguishers should be nearby. Maybe
Seriously.
Ned will invent them.
Well, we always say that Ned is the Jeff Bezos of his day, because he can get those candles there in no time. It is.
I remember walking out of the trailer on set for the proposal, Elizabeth, the proposal with Jack, and I've never seen this many candles in my life. And somehow our amazing crew, it was windy and they were keeping them going. It was incredible.
Wow.
But yeah, romance is one of the center points of the show. It's I think the show's about hope, and hope comes in a lot of forms, but it comes often in human connection, and romance is one example of that. And also the fans love it. They tell us that they love the romance, and I think the key to keeping it going all these times is you like to take it slow and steady. There's a way to present romance where you just don't want to go too fast. You want to kind of see it happen. And sometimes it doesn't always have to be a kiss. It doesn't always have to be it. Sometimes it's just the way people look at each other. It's things they do for each other. And I think there are endless ways we can present it. So I don't think it's going anywhere. I think it's going to be one of our
Endless ways. All right.
priorities. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Hearties,
like
Hearties everywhere are going, keep it coming. We're good.
Yeah.
Keep it coming." So
Indeed.
Derek, we have such great actors on this show, and it's such a great ensemble cast. Deborah Martin from Memphis, Tennessee, wants to know if you could tell us about a time when an actor took one of your scenes and just kind of knocked it out of the park. If you ever sat back and just said, wow, they took that to another level I didn't anticipate.
We do have an amazing cast, and there are too many to count. Like I'm always baffled just how they do it. They're just, wow, that's even, sometimes it's not even supposed to be that special and they just make it special. But to mention a few, I'd say Elizabeth, Aaron, in that season 5 finale, when she had lost Jack, I just think that was, some of that stuff was so chilling and moving, and that was a whole hour of just being blown away, which she does all the time. I'd say, Lee and Pascal, when they had the discussion about not being able to have children, almost made me cry. A scene that I love, one is with Bill and Elizabeth when he gives her the horse. I've just, not much is even said there. It's just the way they interact with each other and how comforting it is. Also when she asks him to be godfather and stuff, those were really special. And Gowan, I mean, he does great stuff, and I think some of my favorite things are coming up this season. I think he takes it to another level. Some of the cuts I've seen from some of the later episodes, all the fans keep telling me this guy needs to find some peace. Give this guy some peace, and I won't say what's going to happen with him, but he's got some powerful stuff coming up for sure. Really interesting.
That's great. Yeah, 3 episodes in and you can already tell it's going somewhere, and we're excited to see it. So.
Yeah, that's great.
When you kind of set me up for my next question here, you've got 2 more episodes that you wrote coming up. I think they're 10 and 11. Is there anything that you want to tease about those that you could tell the Hearties? We always like a good, not spoiler, but
I mean, I think some of the things you've seen happen in the first 2 or the first 3 episodes. How do I say this without? It's big surprises coming, and big surprises that take our diehard fans all the way back to season 1. I think it really brings back some of the things that were so prevalent back then. So it's really, for a season 9, it's really taking us back to our roots, and there's romance. There's definitely romance. There are surprises, and I don't think anyone will see it coming. So other than that, there's 2. If I try to give you a little bit, you'll take a lot. I can't.
Oh, that's pretty good. We'll take it. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
We skipped one, so I just want to head back to one question, and that is, I don't think people realize, maybe in your description they got it a little bit, but your job as a TV writer requires just a huge amount of adaptability. Talk to us about a time that you had a particular attachment and you had to let it go to see the story go in a different direction.
A lot. I mean, especially earlier in my career, I would really hold on to things. And as you work in this business longer and longer, you realize you have to let certain things go, and there's no right answer. But sometimes I've learned that when they take something that's really precious from me, like that's my favorite scene or whatever, something better comes out of it. And then you start to learn that this is a collaborative business, and you have to be flexible. You have to just understand that someone might have, I think with writers, you picture it all the way to the end, and that really solidifies everything for you. And so when someone disrupts that, it's hard. It's hard to kind of find your way back. But when you do, sometimes it's better. So it's been a
Yeah, and
learning curve.
I think that's amazing to work within parameters. Sometimes it forces you to be even more creative, sometimes, that
Yeah.
happens. And then, just I'm a minister's daughter, and I always remember my dad sort of feeling like, that sermon is not going to hit it out of the park today. And then the parishioners being, that was so moving.
Right.
Have you ever had that happen where you're like, that was a stinker, but the audience reaction was the opposite?
Yeah. I mean, I watch the episodes with my wife and my kids sometimes, but usually with my wife, and I'll sit there and groan over something. Like, I just wish that didn't. And she'll say, that was amazing. And I have to be quiet.
Right.
Yeah, it was. You're right. Yeah.
I love
But,
it. I love it. Well, it's, it is a relationship between the writer and obviously all of the storytellers, but the audience sometimes responds very differently. But I can certainly tell you we're responding with great joy. We're enjoying the humor this season. We're enjoying a lot of twists and turns already. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
It does feel like the humor has increased a bit this season. Do you feel that way? Or
I mean, yeah, we're trying to keep it lighter and balance that with some more serious storylines, and that's always a tough balance. It's always good to have a villain around. It's always good to have a love story, but if you can balance that out with some lighter stories. And last night, I think with the book and some of the townspeople misinterpreting it, really loved the scene with when Lucas was with Elizabeth up on the top deck there and trying to keep her occupied until she could come downstairs. There's a lot of playful, fun stuff there. So yeah,
Her overacting.
Oh,
that was
man.
great.
She said she was so excited to do that, and she knocked it out of the park in the right way. Yeah.
All right. Well, and Bill Avery is always great for a little comic relief. And
He's
he has
very funny.
some one-liners that are just
On and off camera.
45-degree angle. 45-degree angle.
So good.
He is
So
a
good.
funny guy.
Yeah. Well, and he's someone that you've gotten to write for as many seasons as you've been there. So that's got to be special.
Yeah, we had some fun episodes with him, and some of his stuff is my favorite stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Derek, do you have any questions for the Hearties?
I'm just glad everyone seems happy. I really want to thank everybody for all the messages about last night's episode and the two before that. We'd love to have the support. You guys are the ones that keep the fire in our bellies. So that's thanks for hanging with us, and we'll all keep our fingers crossed for season 10.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for spending some time with us. And you're definitely one of the writers. You might be the only writer on Twitter. Are there others? There might be some. Oh, Allie's on there.
Yeah, Allie's on there.
Yeah.
I think John's on there. Yeah, it's just
But we always appreciate. I mean, you're so interactive and always open to interacting with us on show nights. So that's
you guys make me laugh. There's so much great stuff on there. Sunday nights are fun.
You're getting very talented with your gift game there on Twitter.
I try to compete with Ben Rosenbaum that plays Hiccup.
He's the king.
Yeah, they're all pretty good at it at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks for taking time with us tonight.
Thank you. Great talking to you. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks, Hearties, for joining us with Heart to Heart. And we can't wait to see you all on Twitter on Sunday using the hashtag Hearties. And of course, watching When Calls the Heart Sunday, 8 o'clock on the Hallmark Channel.